This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Kadlick.
Everybody, welcome into the Greg Bedard Patriot Podcast. Greg Bedard here. Nick Kadlick is not here through no fault of his own. I am actually in the midst of baseball and softball, travel ball hell this summer, and where I am right now, the Wi-Fi is iffy at best, and I just didn't. There was no chance that Nick and I would have a productive conversation going back and forth. So I will be doing this solo, and we will be doing a straight mailbag off of my BSJ member chat that I had earlier this week. I think it hits on a lot of topics that probably a lot of you guys are worried about. But first, let me tell you, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. PrizePicks, they just alerted us. They will have a free square that they would like to promote for the UFC event this Saturday, 6/29. Alex Pereira has to get more than 0.5 significant strikes, and that square wins. Basically, they're giving you a free square, upping your odds to take home a little bit of cash if you're into that. Also, take the guesswork out of buying MLB or even NFL tickets with the season rapidly approaching. With Gametime, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So let's get right into it. We'll see how many we can tick off in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So Plown09 has a couple questions for me. He said, what do you believe causes the high draft picks to fail at a higher rate? The talent of the individual QB or the QB situation, i.e. coaching development of the QB, organizational pressure to put the high pick in? I would say it's a combination of both things. I think we've talked about these things before, but I am are there guys that are just rare beasts that are the elite of the elite that can kind of succeed in any sort of environment? Yeah, I guess. I mean, but you look at guys like Patrick Mahomes, he sat for a year. You look at Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning when they came into the league into tough situations and they barely won any games their first year. But as the talent around them got better, as they got more experience, they got better. But I think it's a combination of both things. I think that, normally when these quarterbacks go into situations, when they're high draft picks, it's not a good situation. And you couple that with the pressure to sell something to the fan base, a hope with a young quarterback. I think a lot of these guys get rushed into things where, really you need to individually assess the quarterback. Where is he? How far away is he from being a really good NFL quarterback? And don't rush it. I know the temptation is there to rush it, but I just think that's the wrong thing. The second question was, you said in your podcast that you believe that Wolf and Mayo have 2 years to show organizational improvement. If the Pats rush May and put him in early, wouldn't that move up the clock and pressure on Wolf and Mayo? Wouldn't it be in their best interest to give Mayo a full year of footwork and processing development? Yeah, I agree with that. And that's part of the reason why I think they're going to take the conservative approach with May. I think a lot of it will ultimately depend on what we see this summer in training camp. I mean, look, I'm not going to discount that all of a sudden May, with a lot of off-season work, with the quarterback coach that he's working with, he'll have his marching orders from the Patriots, that May hits training camp and makes rapid progression. And if he does that, I don't completely rule it out him starting week one. But if you read my column this week on the offensive line, I think it would give you pause about, rushing Drake Maye out there too early. I mean, I would rather see this team get set. There's a bunch of other things, especially the offensive line, that need to be sorted out. And I don't want Drake Maye to be the guinea pig. I don't want him to be the test tube baby for, all right, can Okorafor play left tackle? Can Caden Wallace play right tackle? Can Michael Wenu play at the same level at right guard? Is City So any good? Can David Andrews make the transition into this zone blocking scheme or not? A lot of those things I don't have big concerns about, and I think it's overblown, and I think a lot of it is just sort of talk show material for us in this dead time. I think they'll get it sorted out if Scott Peters is the offensive line coach that the Patriots think he is, but we'll have to see on that. Jonathan Simons says, if management somehow finds a way to fill left tackle and wide receiver positions with competent players, which other positions could the team look at to upgrade to manage a winning season? First of all, I think, and if any of you guys have been listening to me or reading me at BSJ, and especially in the member chats, you know that I pretty much quickly shoot down any sort of notion that the Patriots are going to land some sort of great left tackle at any point anytime soon. There is a dearth of good tackles in this league, both tackles. You really need to develop them from within. You need to have a plan, very much like the Eagles have had, where they keep drafting guys, and even guys with, you look at Jordan Mailata, who came in as a complete project, and all of a sudden he's one of the best left tackles. Of course, they have Stoutland, the coach there, who is one of the best offensive line coaches in history, and they allow him the time. They give him people to work with, and I think that's the way to go. And so, but back to the tackles. Teams are not giving up offensive tackles, even if for the reasons I laid out. Even if a guy maybe doesn't immediately hit, they're going to hold on to those guys because they could hit in the future, and they don't get much coaching in the college ranks. It's very much a developmental position. I think the Patriots need to get into the habit very quickly of bringing in guys who have a chance to play left tackle in this league and just figuring it out, developing them. You really need almost a offensive line university if you want to get ahead of the game in the NFL right now. Wide receiver also, do I think they're going to look to make a deal? Yeah, probably at some point. There was a report that I know people like to talk about Brandon Ayuk of the 49ers. There was a report recently from Tom Pelissero that basically said they met, and they both sides feel good that they are working towards an extension. The word that I get out of San Francisco is that Deebo Samuel and all of his injuries and unreliability, he's the guy available. Brandon Ayuk is in the 49ers are going to hold on to him. Now, T. Higgins, I don't expect him to be available. The Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, pretty much, if you look at his history, even if guys are squawking about a contract, he takes it to the end. And I think Higgins will be a free agent after the season. Considering where the Patriots are right now, I think probably the best case scenario for them is sort of get the program on its tracks this year, look for improvement, play the young kids at a variety of positions. Hopefully you make improvement at the end of the year. And then in the offseason, if they have a high pick, look for tackle. They are going to have money to spend again. So maybe you look for the wide receiver, and maybe now you overpay a little bit more. I'd rather overpay for T. Higgins than Calvin Ridley. I think Higgins is a true number one. I think Ridley is a number two at best. I mean, I guess he could be a number one in certain situations, but that's what I would look to do. Patch Jam, our buddy over there, asked, this is sort of a long-winded question, but I think it's a good one. Greg, hey Greg, would you consider a scenario similar to below as a positive season? Pats have a very good defense that is top 5 to 7 in the league to keep them in most games. They have an awful offense that is in the bottom 3 of the league for the first 12-ish games with bad line play, low points, and inconsistent QB play. We see some breakout games from Polk and May start by the second half of the season, and by the last few games, we see an offense that has a couple of breakout games with an offensive line that offers some consistency. They only win 4 to 6 games, but the last 3 or 4 games look like a better potential to be a real NFL offense versus the first 10 to 12 on offense. But it's clear not nearly enough talent on the roster. So a couple of different things about this question. First of all, if the Patriots win 6 games after winning 4 games last year, and if it looks like they're on the upswing at the end of the year, and especially if Drake Maye is involved and Polk's involved, and there's some stability on the offensive line, yeah, if they get the 6 win, remember before this offseason, and I haven't really changed yet. We'll see once we get to camp, but like sort of, I want to see 7 wins. I want them to. That's what I expect. I don't expect them to go back. I don't think that's fair to anybody. I thought the team was better than 4 wins last year, and they had a lot of close games and a lot of turnovers and a lot of bad offense. If they can cut down on the turnovers and be a little bit more productive on offense, then yes, they have a tougher schedule, whatnot, but 6, 7, 8 wins, somewhere in there, I would consider that a better season. But under that scenario that Past GM lays out, if it's 4 wins again, but the scenario that he's laying out, no, it's not a successful season to me. To me, there's no excuse for them not to be better. I mean, they have to be better. A couple games better would be fine, I guess. 6-11, but 4-13 again? No, I don't care what it looks like. Another 4-win season is not a positive season for me. But I will say, depending on how Drake Maye looks, we can talk about that. We'll be back in just a second. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. With the finals over, the hoop action doesn't stop on PrizePicks. Women's basketball is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves alongside greats like Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson. You could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. Just the other day, I took Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3-points made, and Breanna Stewart for more than 23 points. Plus, I went over to baseball because you all know I like baseball. Kyle Schwarber for more than 9 hitter fantasy score, and Bryce Miller for more than 4 pitcher strikeouts. It's a lot of fun. You got to get in on this. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This is a good one from Rye Guy UNH12. Go Wildcats, I think. If the emergence of Keon White carries over from minicamp, does it open up the possibility of him getting sub-rush opportunities outside? He'd been projected previously as an interior rusher on passing downs, but it seems like he's been regularly disruptive so far this spring. Would such a move make Judon expendable? So, interesting question. I do think that Keon White, and we saw him almost exclusively outside during minicamp. Some of which, Judon was there. He was in and out, but also OTA practices. I do think if they think Keon White is sort of a stand-up Leo type outside backer, strong side, especially considering his strength, that's sort of what Judon can do. I do think it would make them think about moving Matthew Judon. As we've previously discussed on here, I do think Judon's contract is an issue for him. I don't know how big of an issue he's going to make out of it. He's already doing a good job with the PR spin on it, but he wants to get paid more. And, that will be interesting to see how they do that. Now, here's the thing about moving Judon. One, I think there would be They wouldn't love to do that, especially it's Mayo's first year. The defense is his baby, that sort of thing. And you look at it, as of right now, on one side, you basically have Anthony Jennings and Josh Uche as a platoon. Jennings on early downs, Uche as a pass rusher. They could do the same thing on the other side. Remember last year before Judon got hurt, because he played so many snaps the year before, the Patriots wouldn't put him out there for every snap. Now, as the game, evolved, they would do that. As it got deeper into the game, they would play him more, but especially early in games to limit the wear and tear on him, they would bring Judon off the bench. And I think we could see a scenario where Keon White's playing the early downs, Judon comes in, and White slips inside as a sub rusher. Of course, these are passing downs that we're talking about. That I think it would make a lot of sense if you have Judon, Keon White, Christian Barmore, Josh Uche as sort of your sub rushers. I could see that. But I do think Keon White excites me, and what he's able to do. I think he's a phenomenal athlete, and I think he does have a chance to do some real damage as an every down stand-up guy on the outside. Judon's not quite as effective as that, but I'm sure they'll have all sorts of different packages where they're moving guys, and it doesn't really matter where you start, because Judon could be inside, and then White crashes down and Judon loops around. We see all that stuff all the time. But I do think in general, if Keon White continues on this path, it could make Judon expendable sooner rather than later. I mean, maybe we get into a situation where by the trading deadline, maybe the Patriots are sort of floundering and they get a chance to move Judon for something in the future and just play White more. But I would say the odds are probably slightly better that they stick as is. They bump Judon up a little bit more, and they see what they have on defense with all those guys. Strange Brew 17 says, do you think that Amari Cooper could be a possibility? Pats have money and coaching staff familiarity that could make it work. He could be a one for now while the Pats develop the offense. Do you think Wolf makes the call? Interesting. I am not an Amari Cooper guy. I don't think he's that tough. When he was in Dallas, he would tap out of games late. If you remember a Patriots game here, at Gillette, Cooper wasn't out there at the end of the game when the Cowboys, I think, were trying to either finish off the game or come back. I forget. But he also has a reputation for not liking the cold weather. But look, that's what I think. I'm certainly not the end-all be-all. And guys like Alex Van Pelt and then the old Cleveland guys and Elliott Wolf, I don't know if he was there when they got Cooper, but let's just take it. Alex Van Pelt will certainly have an opinion on Amari Cooper. It might be different than mine. I'm not sure. But if he's available, which he could be, I mean, I guess we'll know pretty quickly, because if they think Cooper does have that chance to help them on the outside, then they would do that. If Alex Van Pelt really likes Cooper, we'll have to see on that. But the other thing you have to remember about this regime, especially Elliott Wolf, is coming from the way the Packers do things, they would rather play the kids and have them learn on the fly and be better a year from now, 2 years from now, than bring in some productive, but, could be trending downward veteran guy that plays in front of those players. So that's something you also have to keep in mind. And related to that, Mark Bennett, if the top end for the Patriots this year is 8 wins and no playoffs, does it make any sense to sign an older veteran, especially if the price is much above the minimum? Again, not really in terms of his question. That's the Wolf approach. Like, why bring in veterans? Why spend the money? Why curtail the development of some of your younger players if the Patriots really aren't going anywhere this year. It's really, to me, it's about 2025, and to make decisions, let kids play, see if they have it, let them learn on the fly, let them improve, and then hit the ground running in 2025. Why put a aging veteran who's probably costs a lot more, that is costing you, say, your financial package to a T. Higgins a year from now? Why do that? Let's see. BH Saunders asks, the Pats re-signed everybody. How much of that is because, one, they had a lot of cap space and needed to spend; two, no one else wanted their guys; three, they are legitimately premium players and deserving of their contracts; or four, the Pats overpaid to create a new culture? To the extent that it's four, the motivation is self-serving, in that this new regime could quickly see its credibility collapse with a losing program. Okay, couple things to straighten out. Number one, the Patriots didn't need to spend. I mistakenly said that for a while. I know, like Mike Felger also said that. One of the members on here on BSJ actually corrected me, and he was correct. I didn't realize this. I thought it was a true up every year in terms of how much you have to spend, or at least, if you didn't spend a lot the previous year, then you have to spend more the next year. I figured the union would have put that in. They did not. In fact, it's a 3-year window, which just ended, where you have to hit the 90% threshold. And so the Patriots are starting, this is a new 3-year cycle, so they don't have to spend anything this year. Now, by the end of 3 years, the average needs to be 90%. Maybe they're expecting to, spend a lot next year. But also, let's point out, the Patriots have spent a lot of money this year. Yes, it's on their own guys. I'm just looking up NFL cash spending. Let's see if it comes up on my crappy internet. But the Patriots have, first of all, we've talked about the Patriots being a cash to cap team, which basically is like their budget is what the cap is. And I think the cap this year was $225 million. The Patriots have spent over that this year. In terms of cash spending, the Patriots are 11th. They've spent $285 million this year. Only $3.6 million of that is dead cap. So the Patriots have spent this year. Philly has spent $345 million. Which is about, I don't know, I'm not good at math, but about 50 million, 60 million more than the Patriots. So let me point that out. And number two, I don't think it was because no one else wanted their guys. I don't think that is in fact correct. I think all of the players that they paid have some value out there, a lot of value in a lot of cases. I think it's a split between 3 and 4. I don't disagree with them spending on any of the guys that they did. They are guys that have been in the program. They do the right things. But I do think it is sort of starting off the Mayo regime on the right foot. This certainly has its pitfalls about, like, if you pay player X a certain amount, what's player Y going to think? And I do think that maybe the Patriots, I don't know if they've been surprised by it, but they have gotten blowback internally on the Christian Barmore contract. And it's going to be interesting to see how they go forward with that. Let's see. Tuckmar says proposal to get Ayuk. Again, I don't think he's available. As we can't give the first, I think he's talking about the first round pick next year, which could be top 10. How about a 2 in Judon? Judon isn't in our long-term plans. Judon adds to a D on a team trying to win a Super Bowl and on a short-term deal, which probably fits their timeline. I do like it. If you're including Judon, I'm hoping more for like a 3. Remember, if you were able to get Ayuk, which I don't think he's available, you're still going to have to pay him a crap ton of money. So it's not only what you're giving up giving up as a trade, but it's what you're giving up financially. So you're giving them a 3rd-round pick and a bona fide NFL pass rusher, and you're going to pay a wide receiver $30 million a year. That's a lot. That's a lot as far as compensation. Let me tell you about our friends over at Gametime. Who doesn't love going to an MLB game during the summer, especially with the Red Sox turning things around? The ballpark has always been home to me and my family, and we'll definitely get there at some point, and we'll use Gametime to get us there. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, viewed from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I got to tell you, I've been on the app. I buy tickets. We're going to go to a Red Sox game, I think, in a couple weeks. I went through Gametime. I love how you can see the views from all the seats in the venue. That, especially at Fenway, with obstructed view and all that stuff, that's a must for me. I need to know where I'm sitting. I need to know what the view is. I don't want to be pointed towards center field when everything's going on my right and have to be in traction for the next week. So I love the Gametime app for giving me that view, because I have to have it. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. A couple more to finish off. This is a good question from a Texas New England fan. What can the staff possibly see in shorts and shells to feel good about a left tackle? No disrespect to Chooks, but how are they sold that he can play there when he hasn't lined up at left tackle since college? It's a good point by Tex. It's a fair point. All I can tell you is that's the information that I'm getting from inside. I do think I have liked what I've seen out of Okorafor in practice. He certainly looks the part. He moves well. He's a smart guy. Seems to me that, he could be a solid left tackle, and that's all I'm really looking for at this point, while the Patriots possibly develop a left tackle of the future, whether that's guys currently on the roster or not. But I do think it's fair to ask, and it's fair to point out, like, the Patriots could be, involved in, self-deception, illusion, maybe a little delusion that this is what they did. This is the guy that the front office identified. They could just be very optimistic and wishing that this is going to happen, and it might not. And I think I wrote this week when I talked about the offensive line and what's going on and some of the worries. I've seen plenty of guys who have looked great in shorts, and then all of a sudden the pads come on, and they're not as tough, and they tap out a little bit, and really it's about toughness and physical toughness. And sure, Okorafor moves well right now and looks the part, but the pad get on, and Keon White's kicking his ass, and Matthew Judon's chugging him in the chest, and he's getting beaten down. It could be certainly something different. And so that's why you can't tell anything until the pads go on. You got to take some of the stuff we're hearing internally with a grain of salt. But I think I think the jury is still very much out. Laura from the old site. Hi, Greg. Do you think the efficiency with which Mayo runs training camp practices may be an early sign of his capacity to handle the head coaching job? I do. I've seen worse practices. I just don't think they're hugely efficient. But then again, I don't know what Jerod Mayo's aim is in terms of what he's trying to develop. I don't think they were very efficient. I think they, a lot of times we would have seen the Patriots doing, double barrel on 2 practice fields, like, getting reps for a bunch of people instead of just on one field. And there's, 45, there's like 60 people standing around, watching. But maybe they just wanted to set a certain tone. I'm not sure. I'm definitely keeping an open mind. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried about it. We'll have to see how training camp goes, and we'll go from there. I think that's going to wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I think Nick and I will be back on Friday to talk about some things, and because I will be back in town. And make sure you go over to PrizePicks and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Get in on that UFC special. And also Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you soon.